My name is John Andrew Moats. I'm from Moatstown. My parents' name was Clona Moats, my mother. I didn't know my father's name. My grandparents were Berlin Moats, and uh, my grandmother's Della. That's about all I can tell you. Yeah, my grandparents were Berlin F. Moats, Della Francis Moats. Those are my grandparents. My generations come from way back from another generation. The Catons, the Propses, and all of them was all combined. They were all kin. I know I'm confusing you, but there was way back, you know, they come from different families.
Okay.
Down around Hot Springs, way down in that area, Hot Springs, Virginia, and they moved north, come through Monterey. They stopped off in a lot of different places and lived in local places till they got to Moatstown. And Moatstown was their last home place. See, I don't know how they found Moatstown. I don't know how Moatstown, you know, I have no idea. Yeah, they was hard-working people. And they went out and provided for their families and stuff where they didn't have no income coming in to buy anything from any stores or anything like that. What they would do in the fall of the year, they would pick walnuts and they would crack those walnuts at nighttime and sell the kernels and stuff to buy their coffee, sugar, and stuff like that, what they need in the household. And might have had, they didn't have any transportation or anything like that. They didn't have no cows, no horses. The way they got their wood down out of the mountain with a chain, and they would pull it on their backs and stuff to get it into the house in the wintertime. It was rough. You get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'd work late at night, so they didn't tell no stories or anything like that. I worked with them. They raised me, and till I was around, 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old. I worked with them and did whatever they had to lay out for me to do, and so I took care. Like, they found they got 2 horses, and they would go out and do what they had to do. But when I come in from school, I had to take care of the horses and stuff like that. Well, the only one that I know I had a favorite was the one who was plowing potatoes, and he must have got tired and sat down. Boy, he sat down with me on his back, and that was he was. But all the rest of them were just plain work horses.
Where'd y'all get your horses from?
He lived on the South Branch up here, up river there. That's where he got the 2 horses from.
You look like a white man.
My whole family was white.
Okay.
My whole family was white. My family wasn't black. The whole family generation, my generation, was white. But we were white, but we choose the black race, to go by the black race. We were white, but we had 2 races, white and black. We choose to go to the black race. That's what the Moatstown people, most of them you talk to, is white, but they all went with the black generation. But that's the way it's always been from the day one that I know what, you know, race was all about. The Moatstown people was a black race. Yeah, that part right there, German and Dutch, which we call them Dutch and all that. It's a mixed up race. Like if you fill out an application and you put on there black or white, that's on the bottom of that, black or white, right? Well, we all put black. that I know of, my family and all of them, the black we was a black race. If you talk to a lot of Moatstown people, they'll tell you the same thing. I don't think any of them up there is going to put down on their white. They're going to put black.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Were there ever any like racial problems around here?
Not in Moatstown that I know of. We had all loving families in Moatstown.
How about in Franklin?
Well, now Franklin, I don't know that much about it. Was a little different down here. You know, my understanding is the black people down here, they didn't live up here on Entry Mountain. They lived down in Franklin, and they more or less got pushed back up to where they're at now. That's what I was told, you know. And I've heard a few little stories about, you know, slavery and all that when we had it down here, in this little town down here, you know, a little couple little things, you know. That was way back in about 40s or maybe 50s, early 50s, 40s and early 50s back then. I'm not sure, 100% sure. But I do know this. You could not, the black people could not go in no store down here in town at that time. If you wanted a haircut, they wouldn't cut your hair. You wasn't allowed in those stores. If you want to buy a beer, you can buy the beer, but you could not sit down to drink it. You had to take it outside and drink it. This was a town down here, just more or less a prejudiced little town. That's my opinion. When this was going on, there was he was a Moats. But he went down to a barber shop down here, and that barber wouldn't cut black people's hair. But he didn't know that this boy was black, but he ended up getting a haircut because of the color of his face.
Where did you go to school?
Down here in Franklin High School.
Where'd you go to elementary school?
Franklin. Well, I went 2 or 3 years, first, second, third grade, I think it was. Third grade, I went to Moatstown. Moatstown had a one-room school up there, and I went up there when I was third. I think the people knew, and down here in Franklin, that the Moatstown people was white, you know, white race, was white race, that I know of. I mean, there wasn't no separation, you're black over here, the white over here, or anything like that. But you have to go in a person's mind. You could tell if they were being pushed off to one side. You know, the white teachers or whatever it was, you know, they would spend time with you or nothing like that. But the kids is different, you know.
Did y'all ever have any problems with the KKK?
Yeah. The people in Franklin. One man down here, that's what he burned a cross up at the grade school. That ain't been a whole lot of years ago. Oh yeah, they used to come up here. They used to come up here on Entry. And, you know, well, they didn't come up on Entry, but they was headed this way to do something like that.
Where did you go to church?
Moats Chapel in Moatstown. And when I come down here at Entry Mountain, I went to both churches, up there and then down here. Like on a Sunday, I think they more or less, the word Sunday, you take off and go to church or whatever. But they'd always, you know, go to church and stuff like that. They'd do things. And to me, church today is more than just a church. That's where we go give God the praise and lift up the Lord's name and take off that Sunday to rest and do whatever you want to do.
Was going to church, was that important to your mom?
Oh yeah, yeah. She would come up here to this church, and long before Sunday school ever started, and she would sit out there on the walk, on the steps out there, and wait till somebody come in and open the church doors. And that's been what, not too long ago, not a whole year. We all lived in a family, all in a log house, sisters, brothers, and all that. But my mother, she was more or less a dog to the rest of them. They mistreated her and everything up until the day that she had to leave from up there. They would beat her in the morning, having her crying all day and everything, and you know. She went through a lot in her lifetime until the day she passed away. I did everything that I know of to make her happy. She was hard working, like she'd had to do all the work around the house, how her sisters go out and make an extra dollar somewhere else. She had to do all the work around the house. I got one brother, and then a sister passed away, and I got another sister. She's right over here. Yeah, after we got up, you mean my grandparents and all of? Oh yeah, after we got horses and stuff like that, you know, we went out and raised corn and wheat and rye and stuff like that to make a living, you know, and there was a place over to Sugar Grove where we would take the grains and stuff like that, like the wheat, and have a ground to make flour, to make bread and stuff in the, so we'd have something to eat. I can still see my mother, my grandparents, what they would do. They would get up in the morning, and there was a big long table, and they would start making bread. And they would make maybe 12, 14 loaves, about so big. And then they had these two little drums that they would take the bread after it raised it and took it off and everything. They put it in there for the next days and whatever it is. So we'd have enough until the next time around. Her mother, she could make some nice homemade bread. We lived up Moatstown. We moved down here in 1961 or 62, I think it was. We moved down here on Entry. It was hard to live, you know, we didn't have no transportation up there, and it was easier down here, and there was an old house down here, so my mother decided to move down here. There was a lot of people down here then. You know, it was a quiet, light place, you know, a lot of people, all the families and stuff like that got together, you know, but it was pretty nice. I think most of them left here when the jobs a lot of jobs somewhere else, and they had to go, right around here wasn't no jobs at all. They had to go somewhere else to live, you know, to make a living and stuff like that. Well, like Harrisonburg, some of them went to Harrisonburg and Ojai, places like that. Stanton, where the jobs was at, and then the ones that stayed here, they had to drive the mountain every day for a job, across the mountain. Well, I crossed the mountain, run the mountain, and worked at Hanover for 35 years, up at Hanover Shoe Company up here. And then from there, I started going across the mountain. But back in 1966 to 67, I worked at Bridgewater, at a portrait pen over there. And then that's when I come back and went to Hanover. My brother-in-law was cutting wood up on the mountain up there, right above her house. And she she had to bring the water up. Somebody needs some water, so she brought a jug of water up there. And I reckon that's where we got started at. She looked at me and fell in love, I reckon. But we've been together ever since, you know. It's about 50, I think, it was 55 years? About 55 years. About 55 years. She's a good woman. But I did hear, like down in Franklin here, the old house is still down here, the slave house. You know where that's at, don't you? That's right down here. The courthouse, a big brick house right across the street. That used to be the old slave headquarters. And I did hear there was a young girl. They'd send her out in the evenings to go get the cows and stuff. And one evening there was a coyote or something over there, and she wouldn't go. And at nighttime, they would tie these black people up, these slaves and stuff, and tie them up. And they had shackles and stuff in the basement part of it where they tie them up at night, shackle them. I don't know how true that. I wasn't in it, but somebody said that the shackles were still in there. And right there at the courthouse, there wasn't but one house. There's an old stone house right across from the courthouse down here, made out of nothing but rocks. That was a slave house. That's where they put all the slaves and stuff, locked the slaves up in. There wasn't no windows and no nothing in the lock them in. That was the only house, building there in Franklin at all around. I seen the picture. Well, living in the mountains, you can sit on your front porch and just watch the birds and the bees and all that. But you go into a city, all you see is buildings and stuff and people and all that. Yeah, give me the mountains. I'll take the mountains. That's the way of living. Work to me. That's where we have to make a living. I mean, I like working. I love working. Well, my childhood was something I had to do. Well, I didn't have to do, but I liked doing it. Was with a team of horses and a plow, and a plow the fields and stuff like that with a team of horses. I like doing that. Keep me busy, whatever. Well, the team of horses, they knew one thing. They knew what G and haul meant. G and haul, if you say G, you go to the right. Them horses goes up there and stop, and they'll go to the right. A haul is take a different direction, and they just stop. And, you know, they just like, I guess with the bridles and the harness and stuff like that, they listen. I mean, you know, horses are pretty smart. But that's what we always do. And we just say G and haul. If you want them to stop, they stop, you know, whatever. They, whoa. I remember G and haul. Hey, I remember that a lot of the times. I guess my grandparents, you know, I watched them, you know, over the years and stuff like what they done, and I kind of followed them, you know. And I like doing the things, what they did.
I'm trying to get an idea of what your grandmother was like, what kind of woman she was.
She was more or less of a mother to just about everybody, you know. She took everything to head. You know, she was a wonderful person. And she made sure that the family was fed and all that, and stuff was on the table, whatever. Maybe I ain't making sense, but she was a good person. I didn't know that, she passed away a few years after that. A long time. I must have been 12 or something like that. We had a smokehouse, and every 40 years we would butcher 5 to 6 hogs, and she would get cans and all that stuff and get ready to can whatever she could can, and then the rest of it we'd put out in the smokehouse and stuff like that. And we didn't have no refrigerators or nothing like that, but we had a spring of fresh water, and to put the milk and the meat and stuff, whatever we had, in something like a trough. Water would come in that trough and stay cold all day long, and that's what they used for a refrigerator. They would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They would get the water ready, and then daybreak, the first hog went down. And then everybody got in, scraped the hair and all that stuff off of it. And then after they hung it up, and they took the guts out of it, and then they split them down the back, and then they'd cut them up in pieces and cut the meat up. The hog joe. That was my favorite meat on a hog, and it's still today my favorite meat. I like that. I love it. Oh, that's good. You fry that crisp and get a pancake, a brown gravy, and take that hog joe and put it in there and mix it up. You got something good. Oh, yeah, that hog joe, that thing stuck out here, but I love it. My wife, she just, I think she cooked some beans last week or week before. What was it, last week she had them green beans?
2 weeks.
I said, where's your meat? Where's that meat at? You put in your beans. Oh, yeah, that was my favorite. For ham or something like that, I didn't care a whole lot for. And you take the side meat and stuff like that, you do the same as bacon and stuff. That's what that is when you buy it out of the store, the same stuff. I guess Easter, my favorite.
Why is that?
Because that's for the crucifixion of Jesus. And we celebrate Easter Sunday morning. Well, when Easter comes, that's the day that goes through my mind. That was the day that we celebrate Christ. That's the biggest thing for me. Well, I have a tandem load of wood around there. I need busted. So you come on around. My goodness. Well, 15 years or more that I coached. Yeah, my daughter, I can remember one time she playing right field, and there was a girl playing out, but she missed the ball, and the girl come right behind her, and she caught the ball. They played barefooted. They didn't have no shoes on and all that stuff. It was a good time.
Was it hard coaching softball?
No, that was the easy part of it. That was easy. Because I had a good team, and, they played together, and when they went out to play, they went out to win. And that was pretty easy. Because they helped me as coach.
How'd they help you?
Well, if I'd make a mistake or something like that, they would let me know, or change it, if something I need changed or whatever. It was good. But I had a lot of fun, though. And I look forward to it in the evenings and, going to practice and all that stuff.
Did y'all ever win?
Oh, yeah, we win a lot of championships. Yep. I think the last championship was over the Navy base, wasn't it?
Can't remember.
That was 1993. It was the last time I coached.
What was the name of the team?
Oh, we was Hanover Shoe Company, IGA. It had 3 different names, and I forget what was the other one.
Entry Mountain Jets.
Yeah, Entry Mountain Jets. That was the first one. That was way back in the '60s, way back there.
How did that happen? What made you decide to start coaching?
You know, I can't answer that. I don't know how I got into it. You know, I can't answer that. I just got with the team, and I don't know who was coaching or anything. We just put together.
What's the secret to win a bunch of championships? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, you had to know the other team, what they was up against or whatever. But we won quite a few championships. But they played together as a team. That was the key to it, you know.
How important was the softball team to the community?
Well, that was the biggest thing back then. I mean, you know, that everybody looked forward to going to a ball game in the evenings and all tournaments or somewhere on weekends, or we'd be going to different places and stuff like that. It was interesting. I mean, you know, I miss it. I miss it now too. Yeah, we a couple of times. Yeah, we did get up sunrise and service a couple of times, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And then up Moatstown, they would have
You know,
a breakfast afterwards.
A lot of these things just, you know, kind of slipped my mind, or, you know, and stuff like that. That was just something to look forward to, you know, on a Sunday morning, sunrise and service. Had different people playing the guitars and stuff like that. Didn't we, Nina?
Yeah, and a Moatstown choir.
Can you tell me about the Moatstown Choir?
Yeah, well, they're a good choir, and they're still singing today, and I'm proud of them. I'm really proud of them, you know, and they sing, and they sing for the Lord, and that's the key to it, and it's very serious about it. I'd like to see them get together more often, you know, sing for the Lord, but some of them live in different places, you know, it's kind of hard to get together.